My name is Emily, and welcome to 10 Things About Singing That You Probably Don't Know. I have 10 years of operatic training and experience, and so singing is my bag. It's what I do. So, I know a lot about singing technique, but it's one thing to say that, it's another thing to demonstrate that. So, here I am making this video as a sort of um, proof, really, that I do know what I'm talking about. Also, it's just some great info that you can put in your back pocket, whether or not you decide that voice lessons are for you or not. These are just great things to know. And good on you for taking my very brief course right now, workshop course, whatever you want to call it. And let's get started. Okay, so first things first, your voice is only part of your instrument. So, what do I mean by that? When you train yourself as a singer, you're not just training what's sitting in your throat, you're training your entire body, head to toe, especially if you're using technique that's classically based. I'm an R&B pop singer now, and I don't use an operatic sound in my music that I make currently. But the technique that I have from my classical days is totally transferable, even though the sound is not the same. So, in a voice lesson, what you're going to get is you're going to get a lot of coaching in your alignment. I'm going to make sure you're not doing weird things with your neck, with your posture, with your spine, even with your feet, with your knees, with everything. It's a total body training, believe it or not. When you study opera, which is the Olympics for singing, that's what you get. You might not need all of that level of athletic ability for singing, if you will, athletic for lack of a better term. But on the other hand, if you trying to be a triple threat or something, if you're trying to be like Beyonce or Jennifer Lopez or Bruno Mars, look at these folks that go on stage and kill it with their vocals and are being super physical because they're dancing. They're huffing and puffing up there, but yet they're not huffing and puffing up there because they have technique. Yeah, they're fit. You have to be fit to do that, but there's technique involved, big time. So, next, number 2, something else that you may have not known about singing. It's that your voice doesn't determine the sound of your voice. I know, funny, right? So, one thing you will learn if you study with me is that your voice is just inside the house, right? So the chamber that your voice is in, that's really what's determining your sound. And so one thing that you're going to get really acquainted with is the chamber of your sound. We're going to get acquainted with our head voice, our chest voice, our sympathetic vibrations. All of those things come into play when you're learning singing technique. So you're going to learn how all of that works and use all of that to your advantage. It's pretty cool. It's fascinating stuff once you get into it. All right, number 3. So, if you want to control your voice, you have to learn how to control your breath. So, you don't learn vocal control really from just controlling your voice. I mean, to some degree, yes, but really, whether a singer is conscious of it or not, if they've gained intuitively or instinctively control over their voice, chances are, not chances are, I can guarantee you, because I understand how singing works, that to some degree they're controlling or managing their airflow. So, a big part of taking voice lessons is learning about your breath, how to breathe, and what to do with your air once you have some, and how to manage all of that. We learn how to expand our rib cages. We learn how to use the abdominal muscles to support the sound in a very subtle way. So it takes a while to get used to. And yeah, it's more something that you use in classical technique for classical singing, but I still use it whether I realize it or not when I'm as a pop singer, even though I don't use it as full out as I do when I'm singing classical. Okay, number 4. We're only on number 4, folks. We are going all the way to number 10 today. Number 4. If you're not making the sound that you instinctively know deep down inside you can make or that you want to make, it's probably because you don't know what you're working with. Straight up. So, we are going to get you very well acquainted with your sound and your God given range. Believe it or not, if, singers or people who think that they don't have much of a range, it's really that you've never exercised your range and you've never used different parts of your voice. It's really that you've never used it, or you've been too scared to, you just haven't had the opportunity because you've sung and or heard music that's of a very small range, within a very small range, and maybe just not realized it. So anything outside of that you've never done, therefore you think you don't have the range, but when really you just haven't spent time exercising outside of there. So, but range is only part of what I'm talking about. There's lots of other things that I'm talking about. But let's move on to number 5. So, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. So, you don't learn how to sing by judging the sound while you're singing. You actually learn how to sing, how to take command over your voice by learning how it feels, by memorizing how it feels. It's not the sound, it's the feeling. And I don't mean like an emotion. Not that can't be helpful. We need emotions to convey well when we're singing. Don't get me wrong. But what you really need is to understand what you're feeling. So, because your ear, when you're the person that's actually emitting the sound, can deceive you. Believe me, your ear will deceive you. But your sympathetic vibrations and what you're feeling all through here and your technique, it won't. If it feels right, then it is right. So we don't get you too very dependent on how things sound to you while you're doing it. Which is another reason why singers always need, I don't care how much training you have, I don't care how long you've been singing, I don't even care how much of an expert you are. I believe a singer always needs another pair of ears. It's hard to think objectively about your own voice. For real. There's lots of reasons for that. But now I'm getting off into a whole other thing. Okay, so now number 6, this is a really important thing to consider before you take voice lessons with anyone, okay? You have to be willing to make sounds that you don't like in order to get to the ones that you do, in order to get to the really great sound that you want to achieve. So I've taught a few voice lessons in my life, and I've taught some people who come in and they're very specific or selective about the sounds that they want to make and that they're willing to make. So they want to sound really good right out the gate. They want to make a certain type of sound. They have an idea in their mind, a preconceived notion of what type of sound they want to do. And so sometimes when that happens, singers are not open to trying a sound that's not really what they want to do, but it's going to get them where they want to be. Just like I don't think football players really, get a rush out of running in and out of tires when they're training to get those knees up. I don't think that's something that they really love to do. Burpees. There's probably all kinds of things that professional athletes do that are not really part of what they're going to be doing once they're out in the field or once they're out on a track or a rink or whatever it is that they do. But they do it so that they can get a good result when push comes to shove, right? And so you have to be aware of that. That's just because you would be surprised how many people are not, because the voice is so personal that it's the one thing people go, oh no, I'm not doing that. I can't do that. I'm going to sound like, oh, that's a terrible sound. Why would I do that? Why would you make me do that? Well, because I know what I'm doing. And you have to make a mess a little bit, and you have to do things to free up your voice to find the full potential of what you can do. So, number 7, here we are. All right. Okay. Your speaking technique is every bit as important as your singing technique. If you don't speak well, if your speaking technique, the way you speak, the way you use your voice when you're speaking habitually is not healthy or in a really weird place, it's going to affect your singing voice big time. If you do weird stuff in your speech, not even just weird stuff, it sounds so judgy, but some of us have really unhealthy speaking habits and we're not even aware, and then we're using our voices like that all the time, and then we go to sing and then we wonder why we feel so limited in what we're doing. It's because we have bad speaking habits that are really not helping us. So yeah, sometimes I prescribe to a singer when we're working on something. I'm like, okay, right now we're not gonna sing this. We're gonna speak this text. We're gonna speak the words, because I'm trying to address a certain thing that you're doing that you don't realize you're doing. But we can fix it a lot easier in your speech. If it's showing up in your speech, then no wonder it's showing up in your singing. So yeah. So speaking technique really matters. Number 8, your connection to the text, the words, what you're singing about, is the difference between being okay and being absolute fire. So know that. So I can teach you good singing technique all day. If you're disconnected from what you're singing about, if it doesn't mean anything to you, or you're not willing to interpret at least what you're singing about, even if it's something that you're not that excited about, we want you to be excited about what you're doing. We want you to be connected to it. That's the ideal thing. But if you're an actor or you're in theater and you've been hired to play a role, and maybe this song isn't your favorite thing, but hey, they're paying you, so you have to be that, right? You have to find that connection. So I'm very text driven as a songwriter, as a performer, and I will make sure that you be that as well. You have to stay connected to what you're singing about. It can never just be random noise coming out of your mouth, even beautiful noise. You have to be connected, or your audience is not going to believe you. They're not going to believe you. And you might not get booked back for that next job in the theater. Okay. Here's a really good thing to consider before taking voice lessons as well. Number 9. Do you need to sing, or do you just want to sing? I'm telling you, the difference between a singer that wants to sing, I'd like to sing that. I'd really like to, I wish I could do that. I've always wanted to sing, so I thought, I'd take some voice lessons. The difference between that singer and the singer that's like, I need this. I've loved singing since I was little, and it's a passion of mine. I've always wanted to pursue it further. I've always wished I had better skill, and I know I need to make music with my voice. I need it emotionally, I need it mentally, I need it in every way. I need it. I need to do this. This is how I need to express myself. There's something missing in my life, an integral part of my life that's missing if I'm not singing. You see, the need. Do you need to sing? If you need to sing and you've never had any type of training, then I completely suggest that you take voice lessons. If it's something that you're just kind of like, I want to, it'd be nice, but you don't have an insatiable need or a drive or a thirst to, then, singing lessons really are optional for you as far as I'm concerned. And in that case, maybe you might not want to spend the big bucks. Just saying. Number 10. Okay, this is less exciting. If you have chronic vocal problems, such as hoarseness or loss of voice completely, some people lose their voices chronically all the time. If your voice is always tired by the end of the day, or just you experience a lot of vocal fatigue, whether it's just from speaking or just from, even 15 to 20 minutes of singing flat out, if you're really super tired, worn out, then oftentimes it's not your singing technique that's necessarily the problem, but it's your vocal hygiene habits. So what are vocal hygiene habits? Your vocal hygiene habits are, how much sleep are you getting? What is your diet like? As in, do you have a diet that is giving you really bad chronic heartburn or acid reflux? I have a daughter, and ever since pregnancy with her 8 years ago, I have had bouts of acid reflux and heartburn, and I've had to make diet adjustments so that it doesn't go out of control. Because what can happen if you have chronic bad reflux happening all the time is it can burn your vocal folds, and that's a great way to get something called vocal nodules, which are basically calluses that develop on your vocal folds. And trying to sing around those bad boys is really challenging. So, nodules aren't good. Yeah, so if you have hoarseness, it could be how you're speaking. Maybe you're being too harsh, like I was saying earlier. There's several different things that it can be. And so sometimes you just want to go get a referral to an ear, nose, and throat specialist if you really have some serious vocal problems before you just go assume, well, maybe I need to go take voice lessons and so that a voice teacher can fix my voice. It's like, well, I can definitely coach you in the area of vocal hygiene, but certain things you would want to, if you're having a really serious problem, then I'll be like, look, before you can take voice lessons, because I can definitely tell by listening to someone if they likely have a vocal problem, like a serious problem, and in that case, I'd be like, you're not continuing with voice lessons until you've seen a doctor and until you've seen an ear, nose, and throat specialist and had a scope and had an assessment of as to what the health of your vocal folds are, so that we don't make your problem worse than it is. So those are my 10 things that you may not have known about singing before watching this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope it gives you an idea of what I have to offer and what taking voice lessons can give you. So thanks for watching, and maybe I'll see you in a situation kind of like this, except I'll be able to see you too. And we can do some lessons via Zoom and have a great old singing time. Okay, bye.